Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're talking about two games that Saul wants to know which one is the lighter one.
Right. Those games are Fate, Core.
Is
Or-
that once again, this is the question I just asked him, is that a system
Fate
or
Core
a
is a
game?
game / system. And the other game is Legends of the Mist, which is done by Son of Oak Games. Just came out, or is coming out. I'm not sure. I guess the books are printed, but they recently put out those books or put out that rule set.
Are Son of Oak a Druid Printing Corporation?
I don't know. I don't know if they claim Druidic roots. So we've talked about Fate in the past, probably a bit, and especially Fate Core. And I used that to run both con games and home games of my Dresden Files Monterey Dresden game.
Yes.
And the reason I ran it with Fate Core is that it was deemed a light RPG, TTRPG system back in the day. Light, and I'm using quotation marks for light. So for me, the idea is less rules, less crunchiness than, let's say, D&D would be good to run this kind of game, especially at a con.
By less rules, you mean what?
Like less rules, there's all kinds of rules. Let's say, for example, D&D 3.0, where you have feats, you have attributes, you have skills, you have magical weapons, and all these things are part of the rules that you need to know or at least understand so you can play the game.
Got it.
So a light game would be like, let's say, a one-page game nowadays, or back then, Fate was considered a light game or was dubbed a light game.
So it didn't have any rules about combat?
Oh, no, it had rules about combat, but it was very streamlined and very simplified. It wasn't very tactical, in a sense. It was a lot of theater of the mind. Instead of, I'm going to move 2 squares here to represent 10 feet of space that I need to traverse before I can swing the sword and do 2.12 points of damage, or between 2 and 12 points of damage.
So when you're in Fate and you tell the person that you want to take out your pistol and shoot somebody, what happens?
Well, you roll Fate dice.
Which are the plus and minus dice.
Right. And so there are 6 sides to a 6-sided dice. There's 6-sided dice. There's 2 pluses, 2 minuses, and 2 blanks. And then you add those blanks and pluses, and either they result in a minus or a plus to your skill.
Okay.
Okay. So that
seems pretty simple.
But there's more to it, right? There's more to it than that. Hence my trepidations, because that's what I wanted to happen, right? I wanted something easy that everybody can understand, not do a lot of math. You roll these Fate dice. You can easily figure out if you get a positive or a negative result, and then you add your skill, and you have a target number that you got to hit to succeed or not succeed. But there's these things called aspects, right? Because there's no attributes in your character. These aspects are things that describe your character. Mm-hmm. And you use those to boost your roll.
Does it give you a plus or a minus?
Yes, +2.
Okay.
For everything you tag as an aspect.
Everything you tag as an aspect.
Right. But to be able to use that, you had to spend the Fate point. So you would spend the Fate point and say, oh, see, I'm going to use this aspect because it ties into what I'm doing. Whether it's an attack, whether it's you trying to jump over a fence or sneak across a dark room. All those things are things that you would want to tag to get a bonus +2 to your roll.
And do you get lots of Fate points or like 2?
There is usually there is a refresh depending on how powerful your character is. The less powerful that your character is, the more Fate points you start off during the session.
Okay.
And the more powerful you are, the less points you get during the session. But the whole point of the bennies or Fate points in this iteration is that you use them up to get bonuses, and then the GM gives you some, which they call compels, to make it harder for you to do things, or give you problems or situations that you need to solve before you can do stuff.
So that sounds like in Conan or where you have the dice pool,
Momentum and
the
threat.
momentum and threat.
Right. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
But the aspects is you have to tie them into what you're doing. Like in those other games, you just say, I'm going to use them.
So give me an example of an aspect that you're talking about.
Let me see.
I always shoot straight.
There you go. You always shoot straight.
So if you're a gunfighter in Fate Court, you should pick something that goes like that, right?
Right. It's all connected to your idea of what your character is, and from that you dream up or come up with these aspects that make your character come to life.
We just played Outgunned, and you don't really have aspects, but
No.
the idea that the kind of character you're going to play would make choosing aspects for that character to be able to make it easier for them to do what they need to do, right? So what I was saying was that if you are playing a samurai
Right.
and you're playing in Fate Court and you want to be able to use your sword well, or you want to be able to have acrobatics be part of your thing,
Right.
you would want to have aspects that talked about that, like
Right.
I'm a master swordsman, so when I swing my sword,
You just make the aspect of master swordsman,
there you go.
and then the rest is up into interpretation. Right. So as a master swordsman, maybe because you got the idea in Fate, which can confuse people, and it does, is the idea that it has to be both positive but have a negative turn to that same aspect. So if you say, would you say master swordsman?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes you really good in combat, but maybe it also makes you well known. So that would be the compel, where the GM would give you a fate chip saying, "Oh, because you have this aspect called
Master
Master Swordsman, I'm going to say, well, these two guys want to challenge you to a duel."
I see.
And it gives you a chip or a fate point to do that. I don't remember if the player has the right to say no, I don't want to be compelled. I think they do, but for the most part, you want that because then you have that chip later to use it when you need it or when you want to use it. So there's this economy of they call it the meta currency, right?
Yes.
Where there's the economy of using the aspects or tagging your aspects and using up your fate point, and the GM compelling you to do stuff to get those fate points back to the character.
Yes.
Right.
It's just like, to me, and I know it's a crunchier game, but Conan, when
Yes.
the GM has all those doom points or
Yes.
thread points, he can put those out there to go first, to interrupt, to go in
Right.
between, to
Right, and that's
do
what
extra
you want.
things.
That's what you want in that game too.
Yeah.
But unlike that game, you could just toss those. You just automatically have these things that you can do. But in Fate, to be able to tag an aspect, you have to be able to
explain why.
explain why it's valid, and then you got to pay the fate point. Where in those DD20, 2D20, or even Savage Worlds, you just spend a chip and get the results. There's no limit or no reason, or there's no you don't need an excuse to use it. You just use it.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I found that to be kind of cumbersome, the whole tagging of aspects. And when I was running Fate Dresden at the con, and I was really bad at putting down.
Compelling.
No, that too. And the idea of there's environmental aspects, right? If it's storming and raining, or the area is slick or wet or dark, there's all these aspects that you would put on these 3x5 cards and throw them on the table and say, oh, there's an aspect of Oni moonlight and stuff like that. So you would, if you would be able to tag that, you can use it +2 for your tagging. Of
When
that.
you say tagging,
Basically
you mean,
just using that aspect.
so you just the GM puts the aspects out on the table,
Right.
Well, you didn't do that in the Dresden
No,
game, but
never.
I think that was because you didn't totally understand the rules then.
Right, and I was coming from a very grognard, old person type of playing style, like D&D.
It kind of reminds me of when John Carter of Mars.
Yes.
When you would tell the GM, I want to use this aspect and this
Skill. I
skill,
think. Yeah.
and you had to convince the GM that those two went together for what you wanted to do.
It's exactly right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, so I doing that was very difficult for me to get into my head to using it, and I played in games where people were very skilled at that, right? And I saw the way it worked, and the people playing were also very skilled at it. Me, on the other hand, wasn't skilled, so I wasn't really not that I didn't understand it, but I wasn't comfortable with the whole
You weren't able to
tagging.
utilize it to
Right.
make your character do what you wanted.
as successful as somebody who did or had no qualms or understood how the system worked. So I started with these 2 books called Dresden Files, Fate, Dresden Files. There's this really thick book, and a company book is like a locations book. And I bought those books because I was going to run Monterey Dresden, and those were totally unusable because for me, because the rules were rather crunchy, right? I tried to make a sorcerer, and it was super difficult for me to make a character. It was this very elaborate process and I was doing this for the games that I would run at the con. So then Fate Core came out. I used that. I didn't use the tagging of aspects. In fact, people could use their aspect for +2 if it fit. I didn't have them spending their fate points for that. You just use the fate points for like a Benny, like from Savage Worlds, or even 2D20, where you give me a chip and it'll save your bacon, or give you it's like a +2 to anything without having to tag an aspect or having a reason to be able to use a chip. So that was just a Benny more than a fate point, the way they would want you to use it in the rules. So I used that, and I played it that way, and I played it pretty well. I mean, I was pretty successful in the sense that people seemed to have fun in the game, but I wasn't using the game Fate Core as raw, rules as written. So I was like, well, and then every once in a while, somebody who played Fate and was good at it going, you're not going to, there's no aspects here. I go, yeah, I don't use that whole deal. And so I could tell that they seemed kind of disappointed that I wasn't using the Fate Core as rules as written. But I would put it in the description of the game using Fate Core, and then I would put on there like homebrew or something like that.
To show that you weren't really using it the way it was written.
Yeah, the way it was meant to be run.
I see.
Right. So then a few years later, they came out with Dresden Files Accelerated, they came out with another book called Fate Accelerated, which does do away with a lot of, like, they got rid of skills and stuff like that, but they still have that whole Fate mechanic where you have to tag aspects. You tag aspects and things like that happen back and forth for that meta currency to be exchanged. Because what happens is, once the players use up their Fate points, then they're gone, and there's no way to get them back in my system, right? Mm-hmm. And I would just give people Fate points or tokens or whatever. In this case, it was chips. I would give them a chip if they had a really good idea or made the table laugh or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, Fate Accelerated came out. Fate Dresden Files Accelerated came out, but it came out too late for me to incorporate it into my Dresden Files, which I dubbed my Monterey Dresden Files, because I had already moved past running those games.
That system or that game.
That game.
So do you think that Fate Core is kind of crunchy?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's much more crunchy than I thought it was. When I saw Fate listed as a light game, I go, light, that means less rules, less things to remember to be able to run the game, right? But it's not. In Fate you can do something like fight or something like that, and then there's try to get a good outcome, and there's different things that you could do as a character, and they're pretty broad, but the effect is different for each one, right? Like, for example, I think, what is it? Try to get a positive outlook or something like that. So what you do is you're doing something like planning, and it'll give you a positive aspect that you can use later. Like, let's say we're going to go look at, we're going to go study in the library for some arcane book about witches or something, if that's what you're going after or whatever. And so if you're successful in that, then later on you have this +2 with lore on witches or anything occultish. So that kind of stuff. So it's still it was very, to me, regimented, or...
I think what you're trying to say is it was crunchy in a different way than, say, D&D.
Yes.
Where D&D, you have to put your skill and you get points from your attributes,
Right,
and all this kind of stuff. Instead, they were just using words.
correct. Yeah, you're just using phrases.
Right.
But at the same time, the mechanics of it was a little bit crunchy. The mechanics of
Throwing down aspects on the table and having people...
and what your character could do and what it was called.
Right.
Like instead of I think, I forget who it is. I think Morgan was saying that he doesn't like it when games invent words for stuff that's already invented. Right? Like, for example, let's say fight or combat. They say they'll come up with a phrase like, I can't think of it off the top of my head now. Like, what's another word for fight?
Altercation.
Battle.
Oh, okay.
Right? It kind of means the same thing, right? But they use their own...
Or confrontation.
Yeah, they use their own... That would be very perfect. They use their own terminology to mean something that other people just would call combat.
Right.
Right. Correct. So that's what he did. That's what it seemed like to me. And like I said, I would run my Monterey Dresden game under Fate Accelerated probably right now if I wanted to. But like I said, I kind of run through what is it?
All of the ideas that you had for that game.
Well, I wouldn't say all the ideas. I don't get bored with the idea of running Monterey Dresden, but I get past that. Like the new shiny comes up, and I start running. Like after Fate, Monterey Dresden, I ran Alien, I ran Blade Runner, I ran Core Horse Cthulhu, and those kind of all mimic my buying purchases or my pledges on Kickstarter. So when the books come in, I get all excited about them, and I want to run in my cons. So,
I see.
And other things get put on the back burner.
Maybe there should be a moratorium on what you can and cannot buy.
There should be by now. I'm trying to. You
should always say in your head, ask Jolene if I really need this.
Well, I can't do that. Then I would never buy nothing.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I don't know.
So, okay. So then this is a Fate Core, Fate Accelerated. Came out years ago now. It's been around for a while. And lately there was a game called City of the Mists. Of the Mist. And I didn't understand. I thought it was based on somebody's books, but it wasn't. It's basically I wouldn't say superhero, but it is an investigation game, but where the protagonist, the players, characters have like special abilities. And the special abilities are aspects. Your characters have 2 aspects. 2. And there's other things you can get bonuses for, like environment, if you have the right tools and stuff like that. But in but in City of the Mist, all you had to do was just be able to link. If your aspect fit whatever you're trying to do, you automatically could just tag it and get your +1 because they give you +1.
Did they call it tagging it too?
I think they did.
Okay.
So City of Mist, that was a few years ago. It came across my radar. I looked into it. I didn't think it was a genre that would fit whatever I was looking for, or it didn't appeal to me. So later on, they came out with Legends of the Mist, which is a fantasy-inspired or fantasy genre game that uses the City of Mist rules. So it's just basically...
I'm going to just tell you right now, I don't think we need that one.
No, I'm not saying we need it. I'm just comparing it to this light
I
version
understand.
this idea of a light tabletop RPG. And I compared it to Fate, what I thought was a light system, but then deep down, I don't think it's as light as it purports itself to be. That's my opinion.
So this game that what is it
The
called?
new one called Legends of the Mist.
Legends of the Mist.
Right. Uses the City of the Mist rules.
And the City of the Mist rules are like Fate Core?
Like Fate Core, right? There's aspects. Your character is made up of aspects. One is like an idea of what your character is. like a big overarching idea.
Is it its own system, or is
Yes.
it like powered by the apocalypse?
No, it's its own system.
It's its own system. Okay.
Right. But if you were to, if I was to use a tagline or the elevator pitch, the 2-second elevator pitch, I would say it's a mix between Fate and Powered by the Apocalypse game. Because this is what happens. You have, and a character, your character will fit on a, just like a Powered by the Apocalypse, it'll fit on a bookmark size piece of paper. Right.
It'll fit like a, what do they call them? What do they call the Powered by Apocalypse characters?
Playbook.
A playbook, yeah.
Yes. So there is playbooks, but there is playbooks.
Okay.
So there's that idea, but you can tag these aspects, and you get to pick two. Usually, the game is like you can make your own character, but they have like general idea what the character, like archetypes.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the archetype, within the ones I've seen, they have a sheet of paper, and it has 5 different versions of the same archetype. Like, let's say Guardian.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of Guardian are you? Well, it says like City Guard, or it could be Bodyguard, or it could be along those ends, right? Anything that would fit that kind of character archetype. But the aspects underneath it, they have them all written out. You just cross off which ones you like, and say, I'm going to pick these 2 in a little box, or you can come up with your own.
I was just going to ask you because I know, like, anytime we play with pre-gen characters or anything,
Right.
our friend Sip always wants to change it just a little bit to fit what he wants it to be.
Which is weird because he doesn't want to make characters.
Well, that's why the pre-gens are easier. Then he can just take it and make it the
And
way
just
he wants
adjust
it.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
because if it's a new system, sometimes it's harder to make characters.
I understand.
Unless you're playing, like, Tales from the Loop, and even then, when you first run into a thing where you're playing something like Tales from the Loop, and they say, okay, it was going to take you 15 minutes to make your character. A lot of people who come from D&D or Shadowrun or Traveler,
You don't believe it?
they're like, yeah, right, 15 minutes.
It's true. I have done that, though.
I know, but what I'm saying is sometimes it is shocking to people that you can just make a character that easily. So is this that kind of thing where
Yes.
you just go down and you go, oh, like, I like that when they give you examples.
Yes, they give you examples.
And then you can either, if you really like one, you can take it,
Yes.
or you can just adjust it a little bit to
And
what
make
you
up
do
your
like.
own.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what they do is they have like 4 or 5 examples, and then they leave two blank ones if you want to
Yeah.
make up your own. And you just put an X or a check mark on they give you little boxes, and those are your aspects. Of course, there's other things like they have a back, because it's a fantasy book or fantasy genre. They have a backpack, and in the backpack they have stuff already in it,
Okay.
right? That you could use and it could be helpful.
It gives you slot, or it's just a backpack
It just
full of
tells you
stuff.
what's in your backpack.
You have like you have the dungeoneering kit,
Yes,
or whatever.
exactly,
Yeah.
right. But the backpack is geared toward the type of character archetype that you have, because these are all pre-made.
Yeah.
And I think they had like a Kickstarter or something. They had some sort of crowdfunding where they said if they hit certain amounts, they would come up with more archetypes. And so I forget how many they came out with. So when the game comes out or is printed, or if you buy a certain set, then it comes with those pre-made characters or archetypes.
Yeah.
Of course, you can make up your own
Right.
as a player or as a GM and go wild, right? So, and then there's the backpack holds stuff that would be, useful for that type of archetype. Like a magician probably wouldn't have a hammer and spikes and stuff like
Right.
that, or a 10-foot pole or something. Where
What is the game that we played that you had 4 slots for what you were gonna what you have with you? I think it was Troika or something.
was it Troika? I think it sounds like it was. Yeah,
It was.
I don't remember any other game that had lately that we played.
You had 4 slots, and that was what. So they did away with the idea of carrying weight and stuff.
Yes.
They just gave you 4 things you could take care
And
of.
some things were either like the regular size,
But-
or if it was big, it would take up two slots, and if it was small, it would take up half a slot.
Part of the thing though you had to carry was resources to
Yes.
food resources,
Yeah,
right?
they call it resources.
Yeah. I think
Which do away with
Dragonbane
money.
doesn't do that, do they?
No.
I know because like you buy the rations,
Right.
and stuff like that. And rations, or even if you kill something to hunt something, then you have to do a
Foraging.
how much, a roll to see how much you actually get out of that rabbit or deer or whatever.
Or what you find.
Yeah.
Or kill.
Yeah.
Or hunt.
How many people can eat from that?
So the reason I say this is a mix between Fate and Powered by Apocalypse is because you have that Fate aspect stuff, right, where it describes something, and then you have the other side of it. One is the playbook style, right? That these are all archetypes, and you just pick one, and you can fold up the piece of paper just and have the one that you're playing in front of you, and you can use that as your character sheet. And then you roll dice, right? Because you're tagging these aspects automatically if it fits with whatever you're doing. So one of the examples I saw was you are a tavern cook.
Okay.
That's your aspect, right?
Okay.
Now that doesn't seem like it'd be much, but what are some situations you could use it to tag a tavern cook?
Like if you were in the forest having to cook food, you would already know how to cook.
Right. I was thinking too. Also, maybe forage for stuff like herbs or
maybe
stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. You could make that. You
make
could
that
go with
point.
that, yeah.
Or possibly skilled at using a knife.
Skilled at using a knife, or also like how to be in charge of people, right? If you're the cook, right? You're telling people what to do.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, it all depends on your imagination and
or things that you know about a tavern cook, right?
Yeah. Or you imagine what a tavern cook would know. I don't know.
Because throwing knives, I could see it being part of their skills.
Repertoire?
Only because they're around a lot of knives, and
And they get mad and throw knives, like Ramsay's Kitchen. Okay, so there's that, right? There's all these ideas that you can have, and the thing about the aspects in Legends of the Mist is that they're really broad. Where in Fate Core, they want you to get really narrow
to go specifically with your character,
right? And in this case, so they're really broad and they're easy to tag. You just tag them and they give you +1.
Okay.
But you get +1.
I don't know what you keep saying tag them, and every time you say it, I think of that you have to put a little notebook on it or something.
You tap it with your hand. You say, "I'm tagging this," and touch it.
But it's your aspect.
Yeah, but you still have to do that. No, I'm kidding. You just have to tell the GM that you want to use this aspect in what you're doing and describe it how you're using it.
Okay.
That's what tagging means, but we'll say use from now on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If you can use an aspect for whatever you're doing, and if you are able and the GM agrees, then you get a +1. What do you get a +1 for? You roll 2 6-sided dice, and you get whatever pluses you get. And there's also negatives, right? There could be some negatives for situations. If you're fighting in a snow-covered ice cliff, then there might be a negative aspect to slippery, and so fighting may be a negative. Might get a negative to that die roll.
But if you describe your outfit as having boots that are made for snow,
There
would
you
that
go.
help you?
Then probably.
But that wouldn't be like an aspect. That would just be like me saying, I knew we were coming to the snow, so I put on the good boots versus the tennis shoes, right?
Right. Now, I mean, that's something that would you put, like when you look in your backpack or on your feet or whatever, you say, well, since we're going to the mountains, I want those boots or something that puts spikes on my shoes, right?
Yeah.
Snow boots. I don't know what. I'm not into snow. Never been in it. So exactly. So then what do? You roll 2 6-sided dice. You add whatever pluses and minuses all together, and you just like Powered by the Apocalypse. If you roll a 6 or less, you fail. A 7 through 9, you succeed with a complication, and a 10, you totally succeed. Bada bing, bada boom. That's it. That's all the rules.
That's all the rules?
That's all the rules. I mean, there's other things.
Are you sure?
There's other things you can use.
It's just a 2d6 system?
Yeah. Just like Powered by Apocalypse.
Okay.
And so another thing is that they have other rules, like for example, in Fate, in all the Fate systems, there's stress, which kind of mimicked hit points, right? You cross off these little boxes, and that's how much stress you got. When you got to a certain amount of stress, you would have to get passed out or something. So they had that as hit points. They called it stress, physical and mental, but it's basically the same thing.
That's the same thing like in Shadowrun they don't call it hit points, but they call it stun and physical damage, right?
But But in Legends of the Mist, let's say you are in combat and the person does hit you but doesn't hit you very well, and the GM will give you like an aspect, a negative aspect, like a bruised arm, right?
Okay.
So now anytime you use that arm, it'll say bruised arm -1 through 6, depending on how bad the bruised arm is, right? So a glancing blow would give you like a -1.
Is there a chart?
No, there's no chart. That's
Okay.
something you have to come up with
Thank
yourself.
goodness.
Oh, you don't like charts? Well, wouldn't you want a chart to help you figure out what you can and can't do,
I
or
think
give you what is it, advice?
I've seen enough charts in my life. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of times the players can come up with stuff like that. Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you get hit in the arm. Oh, what do you think it does to you?
Right.
Right.
Of course.
You let them make their own, because they usually make it harder on themselves than you would, right?
Right. Correct. Supposedly that does happen. And the only problem that people have already come up with, and I don't think it'd be a problem with my group or most of the people I play with, is that people who play Legends of the Mist might be prone, because the aspects are so wide. What is it? Wide? That was it. They're so general that they might want to tag it or use it as with something that is when they're doing something that may be stretching the foundations of logic as to why this aspect would fit with what you're doing.
Well, I think that would be fine with our groups, because most of them will explain to you why they believe it is
Of course.
true, but then they always will just go with whatever the GM decides.
Right. They understand the golden rule.
They may complain about it later, but they'll do it. It's the same thing like we have the same conversation when we play D&D. Is it athletics or acrobatics, right?
Correct.
Which one? I think it would be acrobatics,
Of course, because that's your better number.
Because that's my better number. And you think it should be athletics. So you have to come up with a reason, and that's a conversation. I think we did an episode about that one.
Even athletics by itself, is it dexterity or is it strength?
Right.
It's the same skill, but depending on
what you're doing.
Yeah.
If
I
you're
think it does.
grappling somebody
Or just like if you are pulling yourself up on a
wall.
rock, on a wall.
Yeah. So those are the conversations that people have anyway when you're playing games.
That's true.
But I can see where that was. I know I compared the other one to John Carter of Mars.
Yes.
But I think that is the same thing that I found with John Carter
Yeah,
of Mars.
of course.
That, like, I remember when we played with the boys, when we did a play test or something
Yes.
for it, Ian's like, well, I could argue that
You could.
these are the two aspects that I should be able to use. And he's not pointing out that they are his best two that go together, right? And so I was like, well, I think it would be more like this one. And this is what I want you to roll. And he was okay with that, but in his mind, he had come up with a good argument, right?
Of course.
So whenever you're role playing, people are going to come up with good arguments to why they
But
should do
sometimes
this
some
one.
people are trying to get the maximum.
Well, yeah.
Especially min-max players, right? That's where this comes in.
Oh, I have the same problem with it's not a problem. I have seen the same thing when we play the One Ring.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because I'll say I want to do this, and Bale say roll this, and I go, okay, here's my one die, and I failed, and okay, he goes, you don't have any check marks in that, and I'm like, no, I don't. I would have liked to use the one that I had 3 check marks in, but you didn't let me. Because you said it would be this
Right.
one. And
Right.
I don't usually argue any of that kind of stuff because I'm like, okay, the GM says it's this, unless it's like something like song, then I might go,
You might be a little bit more.
I have 3
Willing
in
to
song and
defend,
I want to sing it.
Yes, I want to sing a song. So,
But I don't see how that's a problem.
well, with some people who are really argumentative as a player and really want to stick to the guns, that could be a problem. Now, I don't necessarily play with players like that or come across with players like that, but
You've heard about them.
I've heard about him. In fact, there was this guy at one of my con games that I'm like was just like getting mad. Remember the one that was getting mad at Morgan?
Oh,
But that was like this guy was just a little off
I guess.
because he was getting mad, not his character.
Right.
And I was like, okay, you need to stop that. Okay, so So I'm just saying that is a problem that could arise depending on who the GM, who the players are, and what kind of players and GM relationships they have, right? If the GM is really loosey-goosey or doesn't stick to their guns, he might have players running roughshod or mixing these.
But he would probably have that happen with the athletics or acrobatics,
That's true.
right?
That's true. Okay, so to me, that's not a big flaw.
No.
Right. But is it too light? Is there a game here? Is it too light? You think it's too light?
There's aspects, there's rolls with the dice, and how could it be too light?
You're saying no, that it's not too light.
No.
Okay. I like that.
It seems like Powered by the Apocalypse to me. I mean, I'm not saying that it is.
It is kind of, yeah.
I mean,
but there's no moves, right? Like moves is the what I'm going to use this move to do whatever I'm going to do. In this case, the moves are instead aspects, and they cover. I think they cover a wider set of actions that you can use the aspects to get your +1 on your roll. Unlike moves that just give you the ability to do something, they might give you pluses too.
Okay, so we got the aspects.
You got the.
And when they go to roll the 2d6,
yes.
You said there are pluses and minuses. Do they only get a plus if it's for the aspect?
Well, of course,
or
the
is there
aspects
a
are positive. There's no skills.
There's no skills. So if I wanted to, if I would say was that cook.
Yes.
And I wanted to throw my knife, I would just have to explain it to you that I would like to throw my knife.
Well, because how would you explain that? How would a cook be good at throwing a knife right now? Tell me.
The knives always fall on the floor,
okay.
And when you pick them up, sometimes they're dirty and you throw them towards the sink. Unless there's somebody in the way, then you have to be careful. And sometimes you get so skilled at it that it doesn't matter if there's someone in the way because you can go around them.
I would say I would tackle it a little different, but that's just me. I would say, well, I'm used to working with knives and stuff like so much that I know how balanced they are, and I know how sharp they are, and I know how to handle. I'm just waving my hand around like if I had a knife, like a madman, and I know how to handle myself with a knife. So therefore, in battle or if I was throwing a knife, I would get a plus because I know so much about knives because I use them all the time in the kitchen.
Well, could you also say that before I became a cook, before I became the cook, this one,
probably not.
I was in the army, and that's what I did.
So that should have been an aspect. So you go, no, won't work. I would say no to that one. Oh, I was in the army before I was a cook. I was an army cook. I'm like, no, that you're being a cook is to be able to use that aspect. It has to be to that.
So you only get 2 aspects?
Yes.
I don't know.
That's why they're very broad, though. They don't have to be cook. They can be captain of the guard or something like that. And so what does that mean? Well, I don't know. Like you just said, you would be able to probably shout an order and command people to do stuff. You would be able to fight. You would be able to use tactics. All kinds of stuff, right?
But this is a game like Dragonbane, right? Like it's a fantasy game?
Yes.
Or D&D.
They call it a rustic fantasy game.
So it's a
low level, like you're talking villagers and stuff. You're
talking people that are going to get killed if they get hit by something.
Well,
or are you talking about people that are? Yeah, you're talking about it's a
I think,
not nice world kind of game.
I think it tries to not necessarily. I think it tries to emulate certain role playing stereotypes. Not role playing. Certain story stereotypes, like novels, like when the beginning, let's say it's totally different genre, but like Star Wars, where Luke Skywalker is just this moisture farmer out there, and so he would be moisture farmer. He's a moisture farmer. Let's say he's a moisture farmer. That's one of my aspects.
Are you saying moisture?
Moist.
Oh God.
Moist. That's what they were. They were moisture farmer. Moisture farmers.
I've seen Star Wars. I've seen that movie like lots of times, and I swear
you didn't know
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
So
can you stop saying the word moist, please?
I'm using moisture. So there were farmers that, whatever. That was their aspect. So now, like anything that would even remotely be tied to that, I would try to use that aspect on any role that came up. Like I could use it for jury rigging or fixing things, mechanics,
The weather.
telling the weather or when's a good time to leave or come back if it's going to rain. Stuff like, it's endless, right? You can keep coming up
Well,
with
when
more
you're
and
on
more
a
stuff.
farm, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know anything about a farm. I've really been on it. Well, I have, but not like live there. So you would know more about farms than I would. But and some people, other people would. But
But
again,
I'm not sure how you farm moisture.
Yeah, I don't know.
But wait,
Steven
was it a
Spielberg.
crop?
It's George Lucas.
Was it a crop?
Remember?
Or was
when
it out of the air?
I think they're. Yeah, it was. Remember, it was on.
No, I literally, obviously, I haven't seen that movie for a while, but because I didn't even
Remember,
know.
they were out in the desert, kind of.
Yeah, Tatooine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tatooine. So they had to.
So they pulled the moisture out of the air
They
at
had
night.
to put as much moisture as the air as they could, so they could farm and grow stuff.
Oh, so they were growing crops.
Yes.
They were pulling the moisture out of the when at night when it's misty.
Who knows what?
Yeah, that's the only time you would be able to do it,
I
right?
have no
To
idea.
Pull the moisture out of the
They're
air.
talking about doing something like that on Mars, right?
Okay.
Exactly. So
I'm not sure about the just two aspects. I
That's
mean,
the-
I would need to play the game too.
remember, you're supposed to be starting out like you're basically just farmers or whatever, and you're just going out and venturing because somebody stole Bill's cow.
Are these humans?
Yeah.
I mean humanoids.
Humans, yeah.
Okay.
It's a very rustic. To me, means very low level.
So
You're not
medieval
superhero.
like.
like paupers and with peasants and stuff.
Okay. Well, it sounds interesting. Do not buy the game, by the way. You can get it as when you go somewhere that someone's already bought it. Okay.
A PDF, I might get the PDF, but right now, no, I wouldn't get the game because I
It's
don't
so close to a lot of the other games that we.
Well, I
play.
already have plenty of fantasy role playing games.
I know.
But I'm looking back at City of Mist because it's an investigative game with some supernatural powers. So that would be perfect for Dresden Files.
I see.
But anyway,
Well, that would be interesting.
that would be interesting. It's basically the same system.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got excited there. So years ago, I probably would say yes, that this is too light of a system. Even years ago, I did not like the idea of powered by the apocalypse games. I've talked about that.
I have one more question.
Okay.
So, in one of your aspects, like if you say I am a city guard, are you like on your piece of paper? Could you write down all the things you could think about that a city guard would do, and then when you're playing, when you come upon a situation where like there's something you need to do, then it would be easier for you to tag, and I'm using quotes, to use your aspect because you can explain why you would be able to use it, right?
Sure, if you need that crutch or tool to help you.
Of course, you're going to need a tool to help you.
You just can't look at the thing and say, oh, I see how this applies. Bada bing, and just spit it out. Instead of having a list of things that you could do. I think the list, that's what they're trying to avoid, is have you look down at your piece of paper, like most aspect games, and say, just like in,
Point your finger at me.
just like, I'm trying to think, just like in the One Ring where Cowie's looking down at her character sheet and Bay goes, I don't want you looking down at your character, just tell me what you're going to do. Because I want to see if I'm good at it. He goes, no, just telling me what you're going to do. And that went on back and forth like 3 or 4 times. And then we're all looking down at the character sheet. And he's like getting upset at us. Not upset.
No.
But he's admonishing us, don't look at your character sheet. Just tell me what you want to do and roll. And then the mini maximizers and all of us want us to have a pretty good chance of succeeding.
There's lots
So
of
we
bad
wanna-
things that happen
so
when
we
you don't
wanna-
succeed.
We want to pick the person who's the best at it.
No, but what I'm saying is for myself, I would
Yes.
write down, and once you write down those aspects of the things that you believe, like a farm, I could tell you anything about
I
the farm.
understand. No.
So I wouldn't have to write that down. But if my aspect was being a cook, and how can I apply that?
Of course,
to,
you make it you pick the aspects or you make it up.
I see.
So you wouldn't have like, why is this an aspect?
But is it a playbook? Like you're picking a character?
Yes.
You're okay. So you pick an archetype,
Yes.
and then you pick the aspects.
Well, okay. From the rules that I read, there's an archetype, guard. That's just real general, and then the playbooks are city guard,
I got it.
bodyguard, and within that playbook
Are the aspects.
already written, of course, with some blanks, and then with stuff in their backpack.
Got it.
That would be what is it? Stuff that particular playbook type of character would have.
Well, it might be a light system.
Yes.
And I could see playing it.
Yes.
But I can also see asking all these questions of the GM.
Yeah.
Because I would need to know what happened when I rolled my 2d6s.
Like Root.
Yeah, I know. I still ask questions about
Yeah.
Root.
Well, just like Root, you succeed with the complication, you succeed, and
Yeah, I know.
you fail.
I know, but if you're trying to use your aspect to get a plus,
yes.
then you want to know how you can use it. Like if you're a fighter and I'm a good fighter or something like that, or whatever the aspect is, the broad aspect,
Yes.
then that would be something easy. So I guess it would depend on the kind of character you're playing.
Right. And like again, how imaginative you are, and you're trying to come up with stuff that is going to that's going to cover as many situations as you can, right? To make your aspect more useful in more situations.
Well,
but that's all fate stuff.
the only thing I can equate it to is Feng Shui or Outgunned, right? Where it's a cinematic game, right? Because I just played it last night, so it's a cinematic game. And
This one?
no, I'm saying
the Feng Shui,
Outgunned or
Yes.
Feng Shui, something
Yeah.
like that, where you're thinking like, okay, what would I do if I was Jet Li, or what would I do if I was whatever, right?
right.
And so I can see that it would still be, you still have to practice that to be able to do it when you're playing, right? Without having to go, well, let me stop and think about what it is I can do. Someone else take their turn right now while I come up with this.
I think it's one of those play styles that you have to get used to doing.
Yeah.
And I think depending on how long you've been playing certain games, it could be harder or easier for you to be able to adjust your play style to fit this mode of playing. Like if you just play D&D or a lot of crunchy games, Pathfinder, whatever, Starfinder, other games that are crunchy, you're looking down at your character sheet and you think, this is what my character can do. And then you might have a hard time using those aspects to fit a broader sense of what you can do because nothing's written down. It's just this aspect. And you're like, what can I use this aspect in this situation? And it requires a little bit of spontaneity and of being able to think on your feet.
And someone to explain it to you well. Like I still remember when we sat down and did the Dresden Files and you said, okay, this is the character sheet, and there was nothing there. It was you write in your aspects, and I'm like, oh, and me and Steve and Kathy just looked at you like, what are you talking about? Because we'd never seen that before, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you have to get used to it.
Right. Well, I understand completely. I was in the same boat.
So, but I don't know. I guess now I understand Fate Core more that you've explained it to me, and this one seems pretty.
This one's even easier,
even
right?
lighter.
Because it takes us steps away from what you would have to do in Fate Core.
Okay.
To me.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very
So I
interesting.
would go with the second one as the lighter game, but I still would say that Fate Core is probably a little bit more crunchy, but it still could be considered a light game compared to like Shadowrun.
Yes, of course.
Or Pathfinder.
Yes, definitely.
So
I agree. But in my mind, when I heard light, I was like, okay, super easy rules.
Well, it's
like,
not as
for
light-
example, like
Lasers
Tales from
and
the Loop.
Feelings, or
Tales from the Loop. Tales from the Loop is super easy.
Yeah.
And Vossen and those games.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit weirder when you have that step die, like the system still supposed to be zero engine, but year zero engine that they use in Blade Runner and Twilight 2000. But definitely Tales from the Loop, Vossen, those to me are super simple because there's not a whole lot. What is it? There's not a whole lot to the rules other than adding your attribute to your skill and then rolling the 6. Boom.
yeah.
What could be more easier than that?
Okay. I'll just
I
go.
didn't say it was easy to roll a
I didn't
6.
say-
I said it was
It's easy to
to understand
do.
that
Rolling
concept.
the 6 kind of, it's hard sometimes. But
So like years ago, I probably would have stayed away from this system, but now I'm more attracted to this kind of system. I definitely would like to play.
you should be very careful what you say because someone might run it for you. And
Yep,
I'm not
that's
talking
fine.
about me.
No, Bay. I think it's right up his alley. I think so. But if you have City of Mist, Bay, I'm ready to play. Anyway, go out and check these 2 systems out, depending on what kind of game you'd rather play. Legends of the Mist is just coming out. So I think did a crowdfunding campaign. They have a starter set and all this other stuff. So check it out.
There you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul,
and Jolene.
and you have a good day.